channel. Head over to youtube.com/@Marc Lamont Hill official. It's a complete library of all Marc Lamont Hill media. That means that it's authentic, it's diverse, and it's dedicated to truth and justice. You can also tune in as I host my original nightly show, Night School. We're here every single night, Monday to Friday at 9 o'clock Eastern.
This channel right here is so important for people to get the geopolitical education, the varying of the topics and the subjects here.
It's a global classroom where we talk about the hottest things going on in politics, pop culture, and academia.
I've never seen a greater fumble, and it's never being talked about like that. But if there was one person who needed to sue their fucking lawyers for ruining their career, it's Jonathan Majors.
Break down and cry.
Doom, doom, doom. Tell me about what was going on around there, because you don't just sing it like your face. I was like, oh,
hey, let me tell you something. Let me tell you something, boy. We have a lot of fun on my Office Hours show, which is an original program that comes on Sunday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern. I sit down with the most brilliant, compelling, and controversial thinkers in the world. We have original podcasts, Coffee and Books.
As long as we offload both the tensions and the responsibility of racism onto people of color, we're going to protect the status quo.
And The Classroom and the Cell with political prisoner Mumia Abu-Jamal.
Acting like, you're an uppity Negro. Yeah, that was a capital offense, bro. No amount of money can ever repay black people for what they've suffered here in the West.
New podcast episodes drop every Saturday and Sunday. But that's not all. You can find my debates, win, lose, or draw. The only way you get $1 billion is through large amounts of economic exploitation. You don't get billions of dollars unless people die.
See, I fundamentally disagree with that.
Clarifying question. Does Israel have a constitution? Yes or no? I'm just curious.
You're being funny?
Yes or no? Does Israel have a constitution? We all know I won that debate, though. You can also find a collection of my interviews from other platforms like The Griot.
If I had an opportunity to have my father back, would I take him back? And I told people, you know what? I would have my life exactly like it was.
Al Jazeera.
So now my next challenge is, okay, so how do you render a judgment on the Nat Turner Rebellion?
And many others.
They could have said to me, well, we should do it this way. No, they couldn't get me if they had said that.
Right.
They had to tell me, I'm going to let you build the biggest brick company right. you want to build.
Then you get there. So head over to youtube.com/@Marc Lamont Hill official and make sure you watch, like, share, and subscribe. As always, thank you so much for your support, and I hope to see you there. Peace. Peace, family. It's your brother, Marc Lamont Hill. Welcome to Night School. Every night here on the Marc Lamont Hill official YouTube channel, we host Night School, where we break down the deepest issues, the most controversial conversations, the most intense topics, the most popular debates going on in the world. And we don't do it with a superficial conversation, no cheap talking points, no easy answers to complex questions. No, we break it down in a way that only a classroom can. That's why we call it Night School, y'all. And I want to thank y'all for joining me tonight. There is a lot going on. I came in with a lot to talk about. And before I could even talk about it, J.D. Vance gets announced as the VP choice of Donald J. Trump. As soon as the RNC, the Republican National Committee's annual, or I guess technically they have a convention all the time, but the big one every 4 years that pops up, they, as soon as it starts, they announce that J.D. Vance is going to be Donald Trump's vice presidential choice. Now, I hinted to y'all that this was going to happen. If you remember last week, on Friday, I showed y'all the clip of J.D. Vance basically talking trash about Donald Trump. I showed you the clip of J.D. Vance saying that he believed the women, or a particular woman, who accused Donald Trump of sexual harassment and sexual misconduct and sexual assault. I told you very clearly that J.D. Vance had a record, that J.D. Vance had a history of saying that Donald Trump is basically an idiot. You see, 6 years ago, J.D. Vance, if y'all don't know him, he was, even 8 years ago, he wasn't a big political guy. He was an author. J.D. Vance wrote a book called Hillbilly Elegy, which is a national bestseller. It was at the top of the New York Times bestseller list. It'll probably go back to the top now that he's getting all this new attention. And he is a military guy, former Marine, very sturdy background for Republicans. You know, he's got all the stuff they want. And he first started talking about Donald Trump in 2016. Wasn't good stuff. They were asking him because he was an author. Then he decides to run for office. If you don't know, J.D. Vance is the junior senator from Ohio. He's a native Ohio guy. He's not a transplant. He grew up in Middletown, Ohio. Smart guy. Went to the Ohio State University for undergrad. Went to Yale Law School for grad. Something about these presidents and vice presidents. They always end up in these same Ivy League fancy schools. Not a coincidence. Anyway, J.D. Vance wins the Senate race in last year or 2 years ago. And now people really care what he thinks. Now people have all kinds of questions for him. But now J.D. Vance ain't talking about, I hate Donald Trump. He's not calling Donald Trump a moron or an idiot. He's not saying, oh, you know, MAGA's a problem. No, now he's all in on MAGA. And that's not a coincidence. He owes Donald Trump for his election. Donald Trump pushed him through a very intense election. Donald Trump is the reason this guy is there. And so we know two things about J.D. Vance. One, he doesn't have a whole lot of principle. He absolutely will say and do whatever it takes to be president. He was honest about Donald Trump until it was not in his interest to be honest anymore. But also, he seems to be ready, willing, and able to be the attack dog for the Trump administration. Now, Trump wasn't sure about him. I spoke to some people in Ohio, and I spoke to some people inside of the Trump camp just 15 minutes ago. And from what I hear, from what I understand, J.D. Vance was not Donald Trump's first choice. He wasn't his last choice, but he wasn't his first choice. And part of it was because he had talked trash about him in the past. So it was Donald Trump Jr. who, at the last minute, I'm talking about like last night, they're sitting around Mar-a-Lago talking, and Donald Trump Jr. allegedly was the one who said, Dad, you got to make this guy, he's the guy. Now, I'll be honest with you. This is a solid choice. If I'm Donald Trump and I want to win, this is what I do. This is what I do. He's not going to pick Tim Scott. That would have been an interesting choice, but he don't need South Carolina. And let's be honest, Tim Scott's black. Come on. He hates Nikki Haley. He's already going to win Florida. There's no prominent Republican in Pennsylvania that can do this job for him. So I get it. I totally get why he would make this choice. I totally get why he would make this choice. I would make the same choice if I were Donald Trump. If I didn't care about people, if I didn't have any values, if I just wanted to win, I'd pick the person who could help me win. J.D. Vance is from Ohio. He helps you win Ohio, which is often a tough state to win for Republicans and Democrats. So it's always a battleground state. And J.D. Vance probably wins Ohio for you. J.D. Vance projects gravitas. He went to Yale. He's smart. He's an author. I'm not even sure Donald Trump is fully literate. So this moves the IQ mean up on that ticket a whole lot. And even people who don't like Trump may appreciate Vance because Vance has been critical of him before. And so he can be the best evangelist for the Trump administration. Like, yeah, I hated Trump at first, and then I watched him work and he converted me, right? So they have all of that narrative. It'll be interesting to see throughout the week how J.D. Vance gets used in the RNC. He certainly will be speaking this week. He certainly was already going to speak, but now he's going to get a prominent spot. And it'll be his first opportunity to really introduce himself to a national audience that only knows him as an author. And then in a month or two, really about 2 months, we get to watch him and Kamala Harris go at it in the vice presidential debate. Now that is going to be worth paying your money, getting your popcorn out, and paying even a ticket to see, because that's going to be fire. All right, y'all. As I mentioned, the RNC kicked off today in Milwaukee, just a few days after the biggest story, maybe in the last year or two or five, happened this past weekend in my home state of Pennsylvania. Former President Donald Trump survived an assassination attempt. That's right. I'm sure y'all already know this. Everybody knows this. But Donald Trump allegedly was grazed by a bullet shot by a gunman who then was shot by Secret Service. It was amazing in terms of the response, how quick Secret Service got on it. It was stunning in terms of the violence that we saw, and it was
if you want to
a roller coaster of emotions for most of the American people. And now a few days later, people are like, what actually just happened to us? And I think I speak for at least the Black people and the brown people and the Muslims and the immigrants and the Philadelphians, just got to add that in, and the trans folk and the Palestinian, when I say we are so glad that this man looked how he looked, voted how he voted, and believed what he believed. Specifically, what I'm saying is this man, his name is Thomas Matthew Crooks, 20 years old, young guy, from Bethel Park, Pennsylvania. Now, if you don't know Bethel Park, Pennsylvania, it's a kind of fancy park right outside of Pittsburgh. He's not a Democrat, y'all. He's a Republican. He has some Protestant background. He has some Jewish background. No Muslim background. He white as the Republican convention. He's not Black, y'all. Not brown, y'all. Not Muslim, y'all. Not Palestinian, y'all. Not undocumented, y'all. The reason I say this is because if any one of those boxes were checked off, the world would be on fire right now. The nation would be responding very differently if a Black guy shoots Donald Trump. If a white guy who's Democrat and trans shoots Donald Trump. If a Muslim shoots Donald Trump. If any of those things, boxes get checked. So I got to speak for you. All these people who get marginalized in this country saying we were all like, woo. I was literally in Jacksonville, Florida when this happened. I was in a room full of Palestinians, about 1,000 Palestinians I was with. And everybody was saying the same thing. God, don't let him be Palestinian. Oh my God, don't let him be Muslim. Oh my God, don't let him be, and we were just going down the list of stuff. And the Black people that called me said the same thing. Well, this guy, like I said, is none of those things. Registered Republican. He donated $15 to a progressive super PAC, which is interesting. His father is a registered libertarian. His mother's a registered Democrat. It's funny how they get all this background stuff. They're both licensed behavioral care counselors. Now, ain't that some irony for that ass? They are behavioral care counselors. Well, anyway, he had no criminal record. The gun he used was an AR-15. He was described by former high school classmates as a, quote, loner who was often bullied but never showed any interest in politics. By the way, his senior year, he did win a $500 National Math and Science Initiative Star Award. This is fascinating. And some of y'all, maybe not who watch my show, but some other people will be like, what does his race matter? It matters a lot. Oh, how they would have responded if he was different. But also, his race is what allowed this to happen. You think a Negro could have crawled up a pole or a wall or a building or a ladder and not got spotted and stopped? You think an Arab could have entered that rally with an AR-15 and not got shot down? I might get tasered just talking about this right now. And yet he was able to get in, and even as people pointed and saw him climbing this, this edifice, he still got up there. And then he missed. Can you imagine doing all that work just to miss? I'm not saying I'm happy that he entered the fray. I'm not saying that I'm hoping or was hoping that he hit Donald Trump. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm just speaking to it's like all the planning, all the organizing, all the effort it takes to break in, come up with a plan, get the weapon, climb, and then you just miss. This was clearly not an expert shoot. This is clearly not some deep-seated plan. This was not some from the show Scandal, like B613 kind of assassination attempt. This seems like what it looks like. But I gotta tell you, when it first started, people were not sure what it was. A lot of people went to Twitter, went to social media, went to all the outlets, social media outlets, and people were calling me like, yo, you think this was real? A lot of people are like, yo, this is some bullshit. This did not happen. This is real. This is staged, etc. Now, it's easy now to be like, oh, y'all are all crazy conspiracy theorists, but that's not it. Let's be real here. First, Donald Trump's a liar. Every debate, every speech, every statement on social media, Donald Trump lies. You can tell Donald Trump's lying because he's talking. And if he's quiet, you can tell he's thinking about a lie because he's breathing. Donald Trump lies all the time. So there's no reason to believe Donald Trump just because he said it. And even now, when Donald Trump takes to Truth Social and says that he got grazed in the ear, I don't know if he got grazed in the ear. He might have. I don't think this is fake. I don't think this is staged. I think it's real. But would Donald Trump overstate his injuries? Yeah, he might have got hit with a piece of glass. I'm sure he was cut. I saw the blood. And no, I don't think it's ketchup. No, I don't think it's some old school WWF. Again, I think it happened. I think the shooting happened. The assassination attempt happened. The bleeding is real. I'm just saying it's not unreasonable to question Donald Trump's injuries. It's not unreasonable when you see this on TV to say, is this fake? Because I would put nothing past Donald Trump. And then after we found out, okay, somebody did shoot Donald Trump, there were some people who were like, is he dead? And it's easy. I'm being honest with y'all. I'm keeping it 100 with y'all because that's what I do with y'all. There are a lot of people out there who wish that he had died. There are a lot of people who wish Donald Trump had died. That feels like a whole other piece here. Why do people wish Donald Trump had died? It's not because we love violence as a country, although we do. It's not because we hate Donald Trump, although half the country does. When I say we, I'm talking about Americans. I'm not talking about me wishing Donald Trump got hit. I don't wish that. Don't come for me, Secret Service. What I'm saying is that much of the country hoped Donald Trump got hit and died because Donald Trump has spent his life, certainly his political life, fomenting violence, enabling violence, funding violence, coercing violence, justifying violence, enabling violence. People's lives are worse because Donald Trump exists. And people know that if Donald Trump goes back into the White House, their lives will get even more worse. Even more bad, I think is the right way to say that. Even more bad. Even worse or even more bad. Sorry, I'm a professor. And so, yeah, there are people who deep down, they might not say it in public. They may not announce it on their social media platforms. They may not walk into, the public square and say it, but I'm looking at a note someone sent me this weekend talking about the anti-Nazi theologian Dietrich Bonhoeffer, somebody who was hanged while trying to assassinate Hitler. And the question became, well, if he had been successful at trying to take out Hitler, if he was not just an opponent of Nazism, but it had successfully sort of stamped out Nazism by having a successful plot to kill Hitler, would he have been right or wrong? These are the moral questions that people are raising and sending to me. This was not some crazy crackpot who sent this to me. This was a very smart person who's also a minister. I'm not saying Donald Trump should have been assassinated. I'm just saying, if you wonder why some Americans or a lot of Americans felt that way, that's the reason. These are moral questions. What do y'all think? Is a political assassination reasonable or fair or ethical if it leads to less suffering and fewer lives lost around the world? That's just a philosophical question. I'm not endorsing this. Again, I don't think you should go out and try to kill people. I don't think we should go out and try to assassinate politicians or elected officials. I don't think we should kill Donald Trump. I don't think you should try to kill Donald Trump. Let me be unambiguously, indisputably clear on that. I'm just telling you why people felt the way they felt. It's just something for y'all to ponder. And how did y'all feel? Did y'all feel like excited when you heard there was a shooting? Did you feel disappointed? Did you feel hurt? Did you feel scared? What did you think? How did you respond to that? And let me just add one more point of pettiness. One more point of pettiness. 2 weeks ago, the Supreme Court, that conservative Supreme Court that Donald Trump appointed, basically said that Donald Trump cannot be held criminally liable for anything he does in office if it's official business, more or less. And they did that to make sure Donald Trump wouldn't go to jail. What if Joe Biden sent that shooter? He didn't, but let's just say hypothetically. If Joe Biden sent that shooter and said, you know what, Donald Trump is so bad for the nation. It is so much in the nation's interest for Donald Trump to be executed because Donald Trump's an enemy of the state that we're going to kill him. Based on the Supreme Court decision that just came down, Joe Biden has the right to do that, and there's nothing we could do. We couldn't prosecute Joe Biden for executing a political opponent. I'm saying that because I want y'all to realize how dumb that thing sounds. Y'all loved it when it was exculpating Donald Trump. Exculpate, that's right. One of them GRE words. But now that it's not exculpating Donald Trump, but creating the context for what we're talking about right now, y'all don't like it so much. Or you shouldn't like it so much. Maybe that'll sober you up and realize that these Supreme Court decisions are turning Donald Trump into a king, but also lay the foundation for other things like political violence. Anyway, let's move on, because after the shooting, it was just as interesting as before the shooting. You know why? Because Republicans have never found a crisis that they don't want to exploit. As soon as the shooting comes out, who jumps out the woodwork first but Fat Albert's finest, Tim Scott? Bleeding Gums Murphy. Scratching when he don't itch and laughing when he not tickled. Tim Scott jumps out the gate, sends his tweets, let's be clear, this was an assassination attempt aided and abetted by the radical left and corporate media, incessantly calling Trump a threat to democracy, fascist, or worse. So Tim Scott is making the case, as a lot of people have, that somehow Democrats, or the radical left, even more, not just Democrats, I ain't no Democrat, but I'm part of the so-called radical left, that we somehow created this climate by calling Trump a threat to democracy or fascist or worse. First of all, Tim Scott, shut up. Come on. Republicans, Democrats, every one of those corporate political parties calls the other one the threat to democracy. When they talk about the radical leftists, even in this tweet, the radical left, you say they're radical because they're going to disrupt American democracy. When you talk about the squad, when you talk about the Marxist agenda, when you talk about critical race theory, when you talk about all of this stuff, you're calling for what? You're calling for America to pay attention to how the left is destroying America and is a threat. So knock it off. J.D. Vance. He wasn't vice president yet, but he was bucking for that spot with this tweet. He says, today is not just some isolated incident. The central premise of the Biden campaign is that President Donald Trump is an authoritarian fascist who must be stopped at all costs. Yes! You got it right, JD. That Yale degree's kicking in. He is an authoritarian fascist who must be stopped at all costs. He said that rhetoric led directly to President Trump's attempted assassination. See, y'all said that stuff before you knew the guy who did the shooting was a Republican. Now, he might be a Republican that don't rock with Trump. Clearly, he don't rock with Trump. People who rock with me don't shoot at me. But it's not the left. He's not listening to the left-wing discourse. He didn't like left-wing discourse. The guy is a registered Republican, registered Republican, and his mom and them registered Republicans, and they're libertarians too. Come on, knock it off, J.D. Vance. Be honest. But he says further, J.D. says that rhetoric led directly to President Trump's attempted assassination. Now you're asserting causality, J.D. Vance. You're trying to say that it led directly, that the Democrats said something, and it caused that 20-year-old Republican boy to climb a ladder and shoot at Donald Trump? Have you considered that this boy shot at Donald Trump because he has mental health issues? Because he has easy access to a weapon? That it's not his race, it's not his gender, it's not his ethnicity, it's not his religion, it's not his... he might just not be well. And when you have people who aren't well being influenced by these dangerous rhetorics on both sides, things like this happen. But don't act like somehow we can't call Donald Trump an authoritarian. Donald Trump said that as soon as he's elected, he is going to basically suspend the Constitution for a few days. What does that sound like? Donald Trump rose to power by telling the mass majority of the American public that there's an enemy over there, the Mexican, the immigrant, the undocumented, the whatever. And that they're the reason why people's lives suck. And that he, despite being a billionaire, can somehow identify with the common man, quote unquote, that he can transform the nation. And that at times it may look messy and not exactly what the Constitution says and not what the rules say, but somehow he'll still get you a better life than you have. They call that authoritarianism. They call that populist authoritarianism and populist fascism. So we calling it what it is, JD. But Republicans want to go dig up old Joe Biden tweets where he said, let's put Trump in the bullseye. Let me tell you something. Donald Trump has talked about wishing that police had hit suspects one more time before they put him in the squad car. He's talked about the violence of people in Charlottesville being okay because they're fine people. He has endorsed violence all around the world. He has justified and fomented violence on January 6th and an insurrection. Let's not act like suddenly Republicans' hands are clean. And this isn't whataboutism. I'm not saying, well, they do it too. I'm saying that there is a legitimate conversation to be had about American political rhetoric, but it isn't Democrats that need to be on the business end of that conversation. It's everybody. But instead of saying maybe that Republican that climbed the fence, maybe that Republican that got access to a weapon, maybe that Republican who's donating to Republican causes, maybe that Republican that believes Republican talking points, that maybe he might have been influenced by Republicans. That ain't even a difficult one, y'all. Come on. But Republicans don't want to have that conversation because then they'd have to be accountable for their own policy choices. Then they'd have to be accountable for their own political rhetoric. So instead, they want to exploit the problem. They want to misdirect us, and they want to make us believe that this is a democratic crisis and not a crisis of American political culture. And it's not just Republicans. Let's move on. Talk about Democrats too. Because Democrats, they somehow felt like they had to make their presence felt. Can we talk about the Democrats, please, y'all? Because Democrats are just as annoying. When something bad happens to a Republican, even somebody who deserves it, I'm not talking about Donald Trump right now, I'm speaking in general terms. Democrats feel the need to virtue signal, right? If a prominent Republican dies, of natural cause at the age of 200, they're still going to, my thoughts are with them, and they're a true patriot, and blah, 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 blah. No, they were human garbage. We don't have to pretend that they were not. Lindsey Graham's going to die one day. Mitch McConnell's going to die one day. We don't have to pretend that they were nice people on the day they die. We can say they were human garbage, or we can say nothing. But Democrats, I need y'all to also be accountable for this. I need y'all to also be accountable for this. Because here's what Democrats did. Democrats talked, as soon as Donald Trump was executed, as soon as Donald Trump, as soon as there was an attempt, so Republicans, of course, exploited the Trump shooting for sure. But Democrats did the same thing. They felt the need to virtue signal the moment the shooting happened. As soon as the shooting happened, people like even President Obama took to X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it, and wrote this: there is absolutely no place for political violence in our democracy. Although we don't yet know exactly what happened, we should all be relieved that former President Trump wasn't seriously hurt, and use this moment to recommit ourselves to stability and respect in our politics. Michelle and I are wishing him a quick recovery. Yo, by the way, on the low, notice he didn't say we're praying for a quick recovery. They're like, look, if we said a prayer, we gotta really mean it. We wish. Black folks don't say we wish. Black folks say we pray. I bet you, if you went to Obama's tweets from the last 10 years, when something bad happened, they'd be like, we're praying for your quick recovery. Not Donald Trump. They're like, we wish. Anyway, Biden says basically the same thing, right? He denounced political violence. He called for unity. He said the fallout from Saturday already seems to be in Trump's favor, many calling his survival. I'm sorry, that's not what he said. Forgive me. Forgive me. What he said was he denounced political violence and called for unity. I made my own note. That was my own.
Tonight, I'm asking every American to recommit to make America.
Donald, this is the fascinating thing, though. This is the fascinating thing. You got Obama coming out and saying, denounce political violence. Then you got Gavin Newsom coming out and saying, let's denounce political violence. All the Democrats lined up to say we denounce political violence. And the Republicans did too. Let me be clear. Republicans also said we denounce political violence. Suddenly, everybody in the world used the phrase political violence. That's why I hate this media thing. Everybody gets a phrase and they use it like they've been using it forever. Here's the problem. First of all, when you use the phrase political violence, you better know what you're talking about. Political violence isn't just shooting people who are running for office. Political violence is the use of violence to advance a political agenda, a political cause, a political ideology, a political movement. If we're going to say political violence, let's be broad in it. And I'm not trying to be some nerdy, pedantic academic when I say that. The reason why I'm bringing that up, the reason why I'm saying that is because if you understand what political violence is, then you can't have a tweet like Obama saying there's no place for political violence in our democracy. American democracy is built on political violence. Are you kidding me? The MAGA movement is based on a bunch of white people with tiki torches and marching through places, tearing down signs, tearing down statues, or fighting people who tear down statues. When the Tree of Life Synagogue was terrorized, the terrorists who did it very clearly were influenced by Trump's movement. That's political violence. For the last, I don't even know how many days now, but since October 7th, the United States has sustained its own geopolitical interests by continuing to fund an Israeli genocide in the Gaza Strip. We send billions of dollars. We send weapons. We send money. We give political protection to advance a cause of Zionism, of political Zionism that supports the United States' interests in the region. They are a client state of ours. That means political violence. The United States supports coups around the world. The United States literally installs leaders. Ask Haiti if the United States believes in political violence. Ask Sudan. Ask Iraq if the United States supports political violence. Ask Angola if the United States supports political violence. Ask South Africa if the United States supports political violence. Ask Nicaragua if the United States supports political violence. Ask Cuba if the United States supports political violence. American democracy is built on political violence. American democracy is political violence. So how dare y'all now come out here and act as if this isn't us? No, this is y'all. The only difference is that y'all don't like political violence when it happens to your leaders. Y'all don't like political violence when it happens to the figureheads of these corporate political parties. That's when y'all be like, oh no, that's a bridge too far. Y'all cool with Charlottesville. Y'all are cool when they're talking about Jews and blacks being harmed. Y'all cool with that. Y'all don't say nothing when abortion clinics are bombed. That's all political violence. When Republican congressmen are out there saying that there are no innocent people in Palestine, in Gaza, that's political violence. So please stop pretending that y'all don't believe in political violence. Instead, be honest about this. Y'all don't want your candidate shot. And look, neither do I. I don't want to see anybody killed. I don't. I believe in peace. But let's not get self-righteous. And let's not virtue signal. And also, let's not act like you don't understand why people might want to see a guy like Donald Trump, who is indifferent to violence in quote-unquote shithole countries around the continent of Africa. Somebody who uses power to impose political violence in the West Bank. Somebody who has literally cheered on the insurrection of the very nation whose democracy he purports to protect on January 6th. He helped start it, and he's defended it now afterward. If you're Donald Trump, you are political. You are the embodiment of political violence. So, yeah, when somebody shoots at him and they graze his ear, there's a reason why a whole bunch of people said, damn. And they weren't saying, damn, that he got hit in the ear. They were saying, damn, that he only got hit in the ear. Anyway, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to say one more thing about this RNC, because there's a very popular person in hip-hop culture who seems to be showing up. And I don't quite understand why, but we're going to figure it out on the other side. Stay right here. Welcome back to Night School. The RNC convention is going to be going on all week, and there will be a number of very, very famous and influential figures there. But one of them was a little bit of a surprise to me. 50 Cent, Curtis Jackson, the rap legend / TV movie content building mogul. He seems to be really in the mix on this Trump and Republican thing. It all started first on Saturday night after Donald Trump's assassination attempt. That's when 50, posted this tweet. Trump gets shot and now I'm trending. And of course, people had made this mock-up of 50 Cent's first album, Get Rich or Die Trying, but they put Donald Trump's face on it because they were saying, Trump will come out like Tupac. He's going to talk about how he took them shots and ate them shots, et cetera, et cetera. And so therefore, it was funny. Look, I was cool with that. They had him as Omar from The Wire. I was sending some of them memes around to my friends on the low. It was hilarious. I wasn't mad at 50 for that, yo. It's hilarious. 50 performed his show that night. And as he was doing his performance, he put that image in the background. I ain't mad at that either. When I got frustrated was when I looked and saw that CNN was reporting, and Victor Blackwell tweeted this. We have that tweet. When Victor Blackwell tweeted this, let's see, I'm pulling it up for y'all. Victor Blackwell, and if y'all don't know Victor Blackwell, he is a anchor at CNN. He tweeted this. I'm pulling up for y'all real quick. He said 50 Cent is currently scheduled to perform at the GOP convention this week, according to a person familiar. The person caution plans could change, but as of Monday morning, 50 was scheduled to perform at the convention. So, am I surprised? No. I have watched over many years 50 Cent show up on Fox News and other places. I saw him on Neil Cavuto one time. I've seen him on other shows where he's talked about supporting President Bush, where he's talked about supporting President Trump, and maybe even saying he'd vote for those two people. So I'm not surprised. Also, he's really, really rich. Really, really rich people like to vote for people who allow them to stay really, really rich and get really, really richer. Get rich or die trying, right? Now, most of those Hollywood people will pretend to do otherwise and secretly vote for Trump, or they might do something, vote differently, but secretly hope that Trump wins. All that is possible. But 50 ain't really like that. 50 stood up and said, I support who I support. I understood that part. But now he takes it a step further, and 50 saying he's going to actually perform at the RNC, according to sources. 50 Cent performing at the RNC is a bridge too far. And this is my frustration. Let me start with the rap part of it. Rappers, particularly seasoned legendary rappers like 50, and I love 50's music, right? Get Rich or Die Trying, I think, is probably one of the top 5 solo debut albums in rap history. Y'all have a platform and an influence. And there was a time when that platform and influence meant that we spoke out against the power structure. We were trying to tear down the power structure. We were trying to criticize the president, punish the Congress people for their indifference to our suffering. And now all of a sudden, we want to be one of them. And I get it. Y'all got a whole lot more money now than we used to. So now you got the money. You are one of them. But we have a duty, not just to how we support and how we vote and how we endorse, but a duty to understand the impact of our choices on other people. 50, my dear brother, I love you, brother. But Donald Trump makes the lives of poor people worse. Donald Trump makes the lives of Black people worse. Donald Trump makes the lives of LGBTQ plus people worse. Donald Trump makes the lives of Mexicans worse. Donald Trump makes the lives of Palestinians worse. Donald Trump makes the lives of Jewish people worse. Donald Trump makes the lives of working class people worse. Donald Trump makes the lives of students and teachers and unions worse. So when you go up there and endorse it, you're contributing to the worsening of it. And I know you don't need the money. You're a brilliant businessman. I know you don't need the money. So please, my brother, don't do this. But this is part of a bigger issue that I see with, honestly, it's with my Black brothers. Donald Trump gets a slice of the Black vote that other Republicans don't get. And when I talk to Black men about this, I'm always frustrated by their responses for why they support Donald Trump. Now, let me be clear. It's still not a big number. No race is more loyal to the Democratic Party than Black people. And so even when Black people's vote goes from like 94% under Obama to say like 86% under, somebody else, all of a sudden people be like, Black people selling out to the Republicans. Like, nah, Black people are the most loyal. Black women are especially the most loyal. And the idea that you think that even at 85, 86% of an endorsement of a Democrat, we still haven't done enough, says a lot about Democrats feeling like that they own Black people and that Black people don't have a right to have independent thought or independent movement. So I'm not saying that. I'm not part of that Joe Biden, if you don't vote for me, you ain't Black thing. That's ridiculous, insulting, patronizing, and racist. What I am saying, though, is your reason for supporting Trump should be reasonable. And unfortunately, it's not reasonable. The Black men that I talk to, these ain't billionaires. I don't know any Black billionaires that are voting for Donald Trump. Oh, I guess Kanye, but Kanye ain't a billionaire. Sorry. I find that they identify with Trump's persona. For a lot of us who are oppressed people, our vision of freedom is to be like our oppressor. So when Bill Cosby gets caught up with all those sex allegations and charges, etc., a lot of people said, well, they didn't do that to Harvey Weinstein. But when they say that, they're not calling for Harvey Weinstein to get treated like Bill Cosby. They're calling for Bill Cosby to be treated like Harvey Weinstein. They want to be as unaccountable and harmful as white men. I'm not saying all Black men feel this, but I'm talking about the people who are saying that. And so when a lot of brothers look at when a lot of brothers look at, say, Donald Trump, and they see him walking through the world, cocky, arrogant, condescending, disrespectful, indifferent to anybody else, patriarchal, misogynistic, all this stuff, they want to be that. There's a reason why Donald Trump was in all the rap videos. There's a reason why Donald Trump was one of the biggest punchlines in rap in the 90s. It's because Negroes wanted to be Donald Trump. And it became less cute and less cool to say you want to be Donald Trump in your rap lyrics, but in your real life, you still want it. And so when I see 50 Cent stand up there and endorse Donald Trump, what I see is the reinforcement of this idea that the biggest, most ambitious freedom dream that brothers can have is to be as terrible as patriarchal, rich white men. And we got to do better than that. That's why I don't want 50 at the RNC, because he makes them, not only does he make them corny ass Republicans feel cool, 50 cool, they not. Not only does he give legitimacy to them, because most people don't show up to the RNC anymore and perform. Remember at the inauguration, the best they got, no disrespect, but the best thing they got was, what was this? This is his name? Chrisette Michelle. No one else would show up. But now that's changing. 50 Cent's a big deal. He's a big star. And for him to go to the RNC and show up, it's not a joke. It's not a spoof. All attention ain't good attention. And 50, you are too talented, too gifted, too important to us, too rich to make this move. You are capable of better, my brother. So please, 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 please do better. Please. All right, y'all. One more quick break when we come back. Some new rap beef, but it's not between people who you would expect. On the other side, I'll tell you who it is. Stay here. Welcome back to Night School, family. On Friday, Eminem dropped his latest album. It's called The Death of Slim Shady, and it is, by most accounts, a masterpiece. Now, I've listened to the album about halfway. It's very good so far, but I have decided that I no longer give instant rap or any music criticism, because the internet encourages everybody to just talk about everything as a classic or terrible at a moment's notice. So I'll give you the breakdown of the album later. But while I was listening to the album, I noticed that he was taking shots at some new people. He always comes after the usual suspects. He also came after some of his rap battle, partners before, people like Machine Gun Kelly. But he also, on a track called Lucifer, took some hardcore shots at Candace Owens. Now, this is interesting. I don't spit all the lyrics for you, but he basically said that, he was going to remind her that she was black, right? That he was going to come at her for her lack of blackness. And he talked about her MAGA hat and her White Lives Matter shirt. He was criticizing her, coming at her, and using a whole lot of B words. He called her all kinds of B's. And I was thinking, oh, this is interesting. And then, of course, Candace Owens, being Candace Owens, responded. Candace, y'all can go to her page and find it. Candace Owens claps back. She basically said he was lame and corny. She also said he was a closeted homosexual. I did not expect her to say that, but she also called Eminem a closeted homosexual. And while that's also in rap a diss and kind of fighting words, I think she just kind of meant it. But whatever you think about that, I just thought that was such a fascinating beef, because it's one of the things where you're watching this thing happen, and I don't exactly know who to side with or what to do about it. I'll tell you why. First, Candace Owens says and does things sometimes that I find to be problematic. She was on the show last week. Make sure you check out our conversation last week, because you'll see some of the things where we disagree fundamentally. And some of those things I do think ultimately become anti-Black. And so, as a public figure, you have a right to be critiqued. And we have a duty to critique you when you say things that we don't like. I don't think that's out of bounds. So if somebody wants to criticize Candace Owens, I'm cool with that. But I don't feel comfortable when a white man is going around calling this Black woman the B word. I also don't like when this white man, Eminem, is going around calling basically this black woman an Uncle Tom, saying she ain't black enough. I'm going to remind you black because you're not, basically like you're not performing blackness properly. Now, let me be clear. We might say that. We might say that on our group chat. I might argue with Candace and debate Candace publicly and say, look, this is anti-black. I still wouldn't say she's not black. I don't believe in that, telling people they're not black enough, or I don't think that's cool. But the idea that and he did it on another track too, but the idea that you're just gonna call this black woman the B word, Eminem is a visitor to our culture. He made his money and his career off of black people, black cultural production, black lives, black music, black traditions, black culture, black endorsements. Dr. Dre, 50 Cent. Actually, he endorsed 50. Take the last one back. But Dre endorsed him. So 50, Eminem, you got to be very careful when you start doing it. This is that thing about white people feeling too comfortable. Eminem doesn't use the N-word because he knows he doesn't have a right to. Eminem might get into a rap beef occasionally with a black person, but it got to be intense. He got into it with Ja only because 50 was in it with Ja. Eminem typically comes after the Britney Spearses of the world, the Machine Gun Kellys of the world. He goes after, Insane Clown Posse. He goes after white people. I respected that. You go after the white people. You're in our culture. You're a visitor. Don't go after black people. But he thinks that Candace is an eligible black person because she's not black enough or because she doesn't do enough for black people. I have a criticism of Candace Owens and her relationship to the black community. I have a criticism of how Candace Owens moves through the world as a black person. Not that she's not black enough. I just don't share her political vision or her politics. I disagree with Candace on some key issues. But you, white man, should not be walking into our culture. I don't care if you've been here for 20 years now. You have been. Longer than that, 25 years. I don't care. You don't have a right to come in and call this black woman out her name. And you don't have a right to tell black people that they ain't black enough. How dare you? But this is what happens when you let white people in the culture. And again, Eminem is a rap god. He is a rap legend. I think he's one of the greatest MCs we've ever produced. Not top 5 and all that shit y'all be saying. But he's extraordinary. But know your place. And the same way you stayed out of that shook stuff, because like you said, it wasn't your fight. The same way you don't use the N-word because it isn't your right. The same way you don't go after black rappers in general. But I do notice that when you do go after black people, you got picks. Eminem will go after Will Smith back in the day. Right. And we said F him, F you too. That's before you knew he would get all Chris Rock on you. I bet you won't do that shit now. You went after Nick Cannon because you thought it was sweet. And I'm not saying Nick is soft or can't defend himself. Nick is my homie. It's my brother. I love you, Nick. I'm saying that Eminem got picks. And sometimes when you think something sweet, you go after it because you think that person is vulnerable. That shit is corny. And going after Candace Owens, to me, when you're not in our culture or of our culture, at the racial level, Eminem is a hip-hop head to the socks. I'm not taking his hip-hop bona fides away. But you are not black, so don't go after black people for not being black enough. Criticize her for the MAGA shit. Cool. Criticize her for supporting Trump. Cool. But don't go after her blackness and don't call black women B. As a matter of fact, Eminem, it has been. The Slim Shady album, was it 99 maybe? I want to say 1999. I could be wrong. I'm not usually wrong about rap shit, but I think it was 99. But whenever it's been about 25 years. And you're still calling women bees and talking about killing people and calling people gay and having these weird, bizarre, sexual, violent encounters in your head with these people that you then put on wax. Like, isn't it time to grow up? You say the album is the death of Slim Shady, but you still going after it. And again, Candace Owens ain't blameless in this. Like, right? Saying Eminem is closeted gay, whether he is or not, I don't know anything about Eminem's life. And you might really believe that. I got the sense that you really believe that. But you're still using it like a slur. And let's say he is. What difference does it make? What does that have to do with what he said? There's an opportunity here to elevate our conversations. But we have to think about talking to each other with the language of care, talking to each other with the language of love and respect and regard, and also recognizing our relative power in the situation. I don't think anybody's doing enough of that. So 2 thumbs down on Eminem for that Candace Owens diss. And y'all can say I'm defending Candace or carrying the water. I'm not. This ain't about Candace. It is about Candace, but it's more broadly about the power and the privilege that white people think they have in our space. Knock it off. Nothing burns me up more than when I hear a white person call a black person Uncle Tom. Even if they right. I go after Tim Scott every day, but I don't want to. If I hear a white person say he's an Uncle Tom, I want to punch them in the face. Yeah, I guess that's probably political violence or something, but whatever. That's what I be feeling like. So all of that to say, please stop, Eminem. Pick some new topics. Pick some new targets. And please, brother, you're 52. Eminem is 52 years old. And if he's not, he'll be 52 in the next couple of months. I don't know his birthday like that, but I know he's born in 72. You're too old for this, man. She's literally old enough to be your child in the hood. So maybe you should not be in this fight. All right? Anyway, y'all, that's all I got to say for tonight. Thank you for watching Night School. It has been so much fun talking to y'all. I know I was a little extra hyped today. It's because I'm just very frustrated. I'm very frustrated. Frustrated, excuse me. I'm probably frustrating. I know I'm frustrating the princess, but I am frustrated as well. Thank y'all for watching. Before y'all go, real quick, tell me where you writing in from. I know I do that usually at the beginning, but I just want to know, as you've been watching this show, where y'all been watching this thing from? Because I got a bet going on with my people. Some people say the only people that watch you are United States. I got another homie that insisted the only people who watch us are overseas, and I don't have no American viewers. I know that's not true. I know neither is true. So please settle this debate. Just write in real quick where you are writing from. And also, what are some topics that you would like me to talk about on the show? What topic, what issue, or what person would you like me to have a one-on-one or one-on-three conversation with? Please let me know. Also, as you're watching, family, please make sure you hit the like button on the video. Also, as a matter of fact, while I'm thinking about it, also go over to Instagram and follow Night School. We have an Instagram account, Night School MLH. Go over there. Make sure you follow that account because a lot of times the clips go up there. I go live and do special Instagram interviews with people that you won't see anywhere else. Make sure you watch that too. And beyond that, y'all, keep supporting this channel. We are halfway through the month. And halfway through the month of July, we are doing well. The show's getting better. The eyeballs are getting greater. More y'all are watching and supporting, but I got to say, let's keep the pressure up, y'all. Keep hitting the like button. Keep hitting the subscribe button. If you're watching right now and you haven't hit the subscribe button, right? If you tell me where you're writing in from, hit that subscribe button. Because when you hit the like button and the subscribe button, you expand our digital footprint. You let the the YouTube and Instagram algorithms know where you stand. You let them know that you don't just want corporate media. You want our footprint to get bigger so that they know that we matter too. So please hit the like button. Also, make sure you share this content every opportunity that you get. If you're here watching on Twitter, make sure you head over to YouTube and hit that like button, that subscribe button. And not most importantly, but equally important, if you're so inclined, hit the join button. This is an independent grassroots media project. We only exist through your support. And I'm not going to lie to you, y'all. We need your support. So if you're on YouTube right now, especially if you're on a desktop, hit the join button. If you don't see the join button on your phone, when you log in on the computer, hit the join button. By hitting the join button, you can then become a monthly subscriber to the channel for as low as $3.99 a month. You can become a subscriber to the channel. That gives us the economic stability that we need to hire staff, to buy new technology, and to continue building toward our building fund, toward that studio that we so desperately need. We can do all of that with you. Every night we give you programming. Every day we give you programming. Night School, Monday to Friday. We also do office hours, 9 p.m. on the weekend. On Saturday morning, you can get coffee and books. You get the Classroom in the Cell podcast on Sunday. Family, we are giving you the content, but to keep putting that content out, we need your support. And I understand everybody can't support monthly or can't make a monthly commitment because sometimes the month be different. Every month be different. So how about a one-time donation right now? make a one-time donation right now. Go to Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, or Zelle. All the links are right there. And consider making a monthly donation right now. Just one donation right now that would allow us to meet our financial goals for the month. If everybody watching right now were to donate $10 for the month, for the whole month, for all the content, for the hundreds of hours of stuff you get, $10 would allow us to meet all of our financial goals. If you can donate more, we would be so grateful. If you can only donate $1, we will be just as grateful. But if everybody could donate by Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, or Zelle, it would be amazing. Just consider it. But again, money's not everything. So if you can do it, check it out. Look in the description here on YouTube. You can get all the details, all the information, everything you need. But if you can't donate money, keep watching. Keep hitting the like button. Keep sharing. Keep spreading the word. And most importantly, keep studying. Because that's what night school is all about. See you tomorrow.